All right, and it's time for topic of the show. And because it's hot and everybody's chatting about it and everybody's playing and rearranging their schedules around the times there are to play, let's talk about the Fallout 70s. I'm not shaming you, but it's real.
Don't expose me like that.
I don't have time to figure this out. So, and my work schedule doesn't allow this. So, luckily, Allie is ready to put in the time.
Yep.
To let us know. Mine doesn't either.
Well, she's willing to not sleep to give us all the deets about the Fallout 76 beta. God, I can't even talk anymore, but that's okay because I'm going to let Allie take the wheel because she's going to tell us about what her experience has been playing in this beta. So, Allie, so far, what have you thought?
Okay, so I think this might come across a little biased, and because our community knows how big of a Fallout fan I am, but I hope it doesn't come across as biased.
Okay.
Or anyways, but I've been having so much fun in the beta. So much fun that I've literally not been able to play anything else on console because every time I boot up Fallout 4 or even Red Dead Redemption 2, because that's literally how desperate I was, I have no interest in playing anything else because Bethesda, like a pusher, has given me a taste of something, and now I can't stop thinking about it, and that's all I want to play.
Damn.
That's high praise.
And I'm not the only person who's feeling like this. I've been streaming every beta session. I've streamed every beta session except for one, and the one that's going to be happening today on Sunday when we record. I've been streaming every session, and I've had a lot of people, hundreds of people coming in, and there are people who are on the fence about the game, who were unsure, who didn't know how an online multiplayer Fallout was going to work. And so, they were coming in, asking me questions, watching my experience, and, the sales I've made in my channel for the Fallout 76 pre-order kind of speak for themselves.
Oh, wow.
That, people are seeing this and being like, oh, wait a second. I do want to get on this hype train. And, a lot of people in my channel that I've been playing the beta with, I've been able to team up with people in my community and play together. I am extremely happy with the product that Bethesda has put out at the moment. Obviously, there are some technical issues. It's a beta, after all. But
and it's a Bethesda game.
And it's a Bethesda game. Yes, of course. It wouldn't be a Bethesda game if there wasn't something breaking somewhere in the world at any given time. But, that said, I haven't had any issues that are outside the realm of any beta I've played so far. So, a few connection issues. I think over the span of the beta sessions, I've been DC'd 3 times.
Okay.
But I was able to jump right back into the game. And a neat little feature that the game has is you don't get disconnected from your team automatically. So I was able to boot the game back up and jump right back into the same world with my exact same team. There's have been some lag spikes here and there. I've identified a few things that you can do in the world that really cause things to slow down. But that's why they're doing the beta, to pinpoint these issues. And a few issues with textures and character models, but that's nothing that I wasn't not expecting. But I'm an extremely happy little vault dweller at the moment.
Okay. High praise.
How did this game differ from Fallout 4 and what you played in Fallout 4 when it comes to mechanics and stuff?
So the game is very much Fallout 4 mechanics wise and gameplay wise, but with a multiplayer online component. Fallout 4 is obviously the title of the series that it borrows this heavily from. So the biggest changes I think I would say are obviously the level system and the perk/skills system.
Okay.
So now when you level up, instead of having a skill tree or a perk tree, you're getting perk card packs. So as you level up your specials, you have 3 in strength, 4 in intelligence. You open up these perk card packs. You get these perk cards that are allotted to strength, perception, intelligence, luck. You have this little collection. And if you've got 3 points in strength, you can put up to 3 points worth of cards into strength. And those cards will give you different perks.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. You can merge cards together to make them stronger. So instead of a 15% bonus, you get like a 30% bonus to like melee attacks or something like that. So it's pretty interesting. So that's obviously probably the biggest departure for people. If you're finding bobbleheads out in the world, they give you temporary bonuses instead of permanent stat bonuses. They're randomly placed throughout the world for everyone to find. So that's a big difference that some people are holding on to really tightly. They're like, it's not the same. They're meaningless now because finding the bobbleheads before was a big thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, they've built on the settlements mechanics. So now you've got your camp. So it's basically a portable settlement, albeit much smaller, that you take up and bring with you as you're exploring West Virginia. But yeah, it really does truly feel like a Fallout game to me. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be along the lines of ESO, where the first time I booted up ESO, I knew I was playing an Elder Scrolls game, but it didn't feel like an Elder Scrolls game.
Okay.
I don't know how else to explain that. I don't know. Simon's nodding his head. I'm not quite sure. Is that how you felt?
No, I haven't played ESO, but from what I've seen of it looks like a weird mix of, yes, you're playing an Elder Scrolls game, but there's way too many NPCs. I don't know. It's a weird way to say it.
It's like when you're loading it up and when you're walking around the world
the way it feels. You feel like you're playing an Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah, it's like this is Elder Scrolls, but there's something different here.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
in Fallout, it really does feel like the next installment of the Fallout franchise.
Okay.
But this time I'm playing with my friends. Obviously, a huge departure from the series too is the lack of living human NPCs, which has caused a lot of discussion everywhere, and people seem pretty divided on whether or not this helps or hinders the gameplay. And the player's story. I personally feel so strongly about the fact that this is a good thing that I actually wrote a blog post about it.
Is there a story per se? Like
there is a story. There is a story. So basically, this isn't spoilers because this happens within like 5 minutes of you starting the game. But basically, you're a vault dweller who was put into Vault 76. It was one of the control vaults, so there was no weird experimentations going on in the people of the vault. They were just living their normal lives, set to reemerge and help rebuild America after, I believe it was 22 years or something like that. You wake up late because you partied too hard at the Reclamation Day party and everyone's left the vault.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, the cat just fell.
Lily,
she just slipped. So yeah, you wake up late because you partied too hard, and you collect your stuff and you leave the vault. And upon leaving the vault, you discover some messages left behind by the overseer, who in this case is a woman. And she's left you some holotapes, some notes, basically detailing that what went down isn't how it seems, and the world is still in danger because there are nuclear missile silos across West Virginia, and we need to gain access to them so they can be controlled and not used for evil, I guess. So the main storyline is you following her path through Appalachia. I've heard people pronounce that differently. I personally prefer Appalachia, but apparently it's Appalachia. Anyways, whatever. West Virginia.
The mountain range?
Well, they call the map.
Oh, okay.
Appalachia.
Okay.
Appalachia, whatever. West Virginia.
That word.
West Virginia. And so yeah, you're basically following her path as she goes through, and there are other things going on. There's a lot of storytelling in the world. It's a lot of environmental storytelling. There's still factions in the game. Very quickly into the beginning of the game, you come across the first new faction, which is the Responders, and they're a group of people who were normal people. They were emergency responders that banded together to try and save as many people after the bombs fell. You know, by teaching them life skills, giving them support and food and medical attention. And one of the first main city hubs that you come to, you find out that one of the responders has kind of put together these holotapes explaining, like, you know, who they were, what their past was, what they hope to accomplish. And so you get to know these characters, even though they're not alive. I mean, you find many of their bodies, you find them dead. You find out how they died, but through these notes and journals and holotapes and terminal entries, you find out who they were. And that to me has always been the most interesting part of a Fallout game is, you know, you can stand and talk, I say this in quotes, with an NPC for 10 minutes, but that to me has not been as interesting as stumbling upon, you know, a dark bunker somewhere and finding the journal of, you know, a family that was locked in the
Living
bunker and, you know, their last days. That to me is just more interesting storytelling than being talked at by an AI.
Is the worry, though, that all the NPCs are not there and it's just real players playing the game, real humans, that over time there'll be less and less people playing potentially and therefore removing a part of the aspect of the game? Is that part of it?
I haven't heard it worded like that before. Most people are like, there's no people, how is their lore? That seems to be
it's not that. It's more like, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot more people playing the beginning of the game. So as time goes on and less people are playing that game because the game is older and whatever else, do you think then that not having NPCs there is going to cause a problem?
No.
Okay.
Make the world feel emptier.
No, I mean, it's the end of the world. The world's supposed to feel empty. This is earlier on the chronological timeline that any Fallout game has been so far. We have not had a chance to rebuild. Generations have not had a chance to, you know, happen, to be born. So it makes sense that we're not seeing all of these people running around. We're not seeing all these new cities built. We're seeing the remnants of cities being turned into, you know, new places, but nothing excessive, nothing like, you know, the things that we've seen in the previous Fallout games. Okay. And also the way that servers and worlds work, I think, is set up to, you know, if the player base is dwindling, let's say, you know, years down the line, that people will be put into the same world. To try and maintain those numbers, because there's only, I think it's 32 to 36 people in a world at one time. Okay, it's not a massive amount of people in your instance. So the chances of you, once you've reached a higher level and everyone's off doing their own thing, the chance of you running into someone
is low.
It's pretty low.
Interesting.
Can you make relationships in the game?
With other player characters?
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Procreate?
You want to. Oh, no, you can't. No, you can't get
no procreating?
Down. No.
Okay.
There's no sexy time.
Well, I'm just curious because the whole point is repopulating
I'm sure
the America, right?
No, it's rebuilding America.
Okay. Not repopulating.
Not repopulating. No, it's rebuilding. So hence, like, the camps.
You need people because these people will die off at some point.
Listen, they've got bigger fish to fry right now. There's nuclear silos, Leah. Come on. Get your mind out of the gutter.
No. Practically, apparently.
But it's been interesting to play and actually, you know, talk to my community and see how all of our experiences have been different. You know, I've got friends who immediately upon jumping into the beta were greeted with PvP once they hit level 5, which I think is kind of understandable because that was like a big question everyone had was like, how's PvP going to work and how's it going to alter my experience? So I think as soon as people had the opportunity to engage in PvP, they took it just to see what it was like.
Especially in the beta, you want to try it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I've only
no repercussions.
I've only had 2 instances of PvP, and one was pretty funny. I was playing with my husband, and someone shot him, trying to engage him in PvP because you have to engage back in order for it to really happen.
Yeah.
And so he shot my husband. My husband was too busy building his camp, and so I looked at the guy and I used the thumbs down emote. And I just was like staring at him, and he like kind of stopped for a couple seconds, and then he sent me the heart emote, and he just walked away. And I was
cute.
like,
funny.
okay, that was like a kind of cute interaction. And
Because
then
actually, that's interesting to hear too. Because when I played Sea of Thieves, that's what I hated. Because I felt like I was just trying to get into the game, learn mechanics, and all of a sudden, some OP character comes from nowhere, somebody, and like kicks mine and Nixie's ass, and I'm like, but this isn't fair. I just want to learn how to play the damn game. And having that ability to be able to say, no, I don't want to partake in your shenanigans, kind of gives me a little bit of ease, because I know that's often a thing that I hate about PvP is not having a choice.
yeah, this game gives you a little bit more of a choice, and also has repercussions for people who do engage in PvP. So there's like a bounty system. And we actually, that happened last night. I got into my first actual PvP encounter last night. There are settlements across the map where you can try to claim them and basically like set up a workshop, and it's kind of an easier, bigger way to go about things. And when you claim these settlements, you can either claim them from other players or just claim them directly off the map, and they'll send waves of enemies, or the player characters can come and try and kick your ass and get their stuff back. And so we had that instance last night where we took a section of the map away from another player, and he kept coming back with this pitchfork, and so we just kept killing him until finally he was like, we saw him coming, and he was like, nah, and he just turned around and ran away.
Wow.
But one of my
Not worth
teammates
it.
ended up with a 50 cap bounty on his head,
Oof.
and that 50 caps is from what I can tell a lot in the game.
Okay.
But no, it's been fun. It's been fun to see other people's experiences and just realize how, I think everyone's experience playing any Bethesda game is different, because we just go about playing things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have different, motives, we have different objectives and different what is he called? Like, things are higher up on our to-do list than others.
Yeah.
And so that's been really interesting, because there's so many different ways you can go in this game, just because the map is so much bigger too.
Yeah.
Now I'm excited to play. I couldn't get into the beta because of the different times, but I have a code. So I'm ready once the game launches. But I wanted to make sure too that, I don't necessarily want to take part in PvP stuff. I really want to go and like experience the world, build settlements, do that kind of stuff, and experience with friends rather than go and fight. And I think that from what I'm hearing from you, Allie, is I am going to enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good instance of like, experiences may vary, mileage may vary.
Yeah, for sure.
The game is tougher than others in the series, at least to me so far. Some of the
Tougher in what sense?
well, just gameplay wise,
Okay.
because there's survival aspects now that you don't have the opportunity to opt in or out of. So you have to eat, you have to sleep,
Gotcha.
or you don't have to sleep. I haven't actually slept yet, but you do have to eat, you have to drink. Items I find are a little bit more scarce because of that survival aspect. So you're hoarding everything you find. I'm struggling with the weight limit a little bit, so that's something you have to keep an eye out. Some of the cryptids that they've introduced into the game. So,
The what?
like, cryptids,
Yeah, what's that?
like monsters and stuff from
Oh, okay.
folklore.
Okay.
They're kind of OP. Some of them.
Okay.
I ran into my first group of snallygasters last night, which looked like these giant radioactive lizards. They were
Cute.
not very nice.
Avoid.
10 10 out of 10 would avoid again. I wandered into a Wendigo cave,
Oh gosh.
which seems to have been bugged. We couldn't get the Wendigo to spawn, but that is apparently where he does spawn, or one of them spawns at least. I got my ass kicked by a scorch beast, which is literally a giant radioactive bat that spreads this scorched plague.
Jesus.
That was terrifying.
It looks interesting.
I have a question for you about the weight limit. Are you talking about the weight limit about how much you can carry,
Yes.
or is it your mass? Okay, it's the weight limit. Because in Red Dead, there's actually a thing where like you get penalized if you're overweight or underweight, your
Like
character.
Fable.
Yeah. So
No,
you got to
so
keep
this
a
is
balance
your-
of eating, but not too much and not too little.
This is your carry weight.
Okay.
you do have access to something called a stash, which is available kind of randomly throughout the world. You'll see your stash box, which is basically like your player bank.
Okay.
So it's a cloud stash box for the future.
Exactly.
Future past.
Exactly. And there was a really funny story on Reddit where someone posted, he was like, I'm sorry to whoever's stuff I took from this stash box in this area. You know, I took all your stuff and I left this one thing as a kind of I'm sorry gift. And then he quickly edited the post and said, I'm a dumbass. That was my own stuff. I stole from myself.
That's good.
That's funny.
So that was pretty funny. But yeah, you can build those stash boxes in your camp. You can access them through
That's
different...
good. That's good. Can you share items amongst players?
You can
you
trade.
and Adam share stuff? Okay.
Yeah, you can trade things. You can put, cap, like a cap price tag associated to the item that you're trading. So, like, let's say I'm going to give you a baseball grenade, but I want 5 caps for it. That happens. The trading's a little bit weird at the moment. Like, the UI just doesn't seem very conducive to very clear trading. So hopefully they change that in the future. But yeah, that's been pretty good. You know, if someone's got... My team keeps catching diseases. One of my team members slept in an unfamiliar bed and got swamp itch, and I had to give him a disease cure.
What the fuck?
There's also
Swamp
mutations
itch.
in the game, so some enemies you fight will pass on a mutation to you. Sometimes you'll eat something, you'll catch a disease or a mutation, and that's pretty cool. They can either help or hinder your experience. I got one that gave me like a 20% speed boost, so I was zooming around.
Nice.
I personally think I'm enjoying the game so much already, or the beta so much already, because I didn't have any sort of... I don't want to say high expectations, because I did have high expectations, but I also didn't have any illusions of what I thought the game was going to be. And so that's why I'm really enjoying it. I'm like, okay, this is Fallout 4.5 with online.
Cool.
With multiplayer.
Nice.
I went from to
Yeah,
after
me too.
listening to you.
I'm intrigued. I'm going to do
good.
it. I'm going to play.
My VODs are there if anybody listening to the podcast wants to check out gameplay. Mixer.com/8bitblonde. You can watch my VODs there. And I've been trying to show kind of a variety of things. I'm still trying to decide if I want to, because their intention is to carry over progress from the beta to the launch.
Oh.
Interesting.
I'm trying to decide if I want to start over or not. Because I
When's
just
the game
found
coming out?
November 14th. So 10 days away. It's really close.
Yeah.
I found my
Choices.
first part of a nuclear launch code last night.
Oh.
I had just been saying, I was literally just talking about it. I was like, I haven't found part of a nuclear launch code yet. And then I killed an NPC, a scorched NPC, and one dropped.
Nice.
So now I've got that, and I'm like, do I want to start over again?
So what do you do? So if you have a full code, you can just like nuke someone?
So what happens is Bethesda's made it pretty clear that the chances of a single player finding all of the codes for one of the silos
Very rare.
is going to be pretty much next to
so it's
impossible.
like you can go into the
You gotta
silo
work.
and get
You're
stuff.
forced to work as a team.
if you want to go nuke something. So once you have access to all the pieces of the code, you go to the silo, you get in, and you can launch the nuke at, I don't know if it's preset parts of the map, but it will only affect a certain area of the map. Like there's a radius.
Okay.
It'll destroy that area, and in the wake of the nuke, different enemies will spawn. There'll be different building materials there that you might need for certain things in your camp.
Interesting.
So there's, a positive and a negative. And of course, if your camp is destroyed because someone sends a nuke at it, don't worry. You don't lose those things. They just go back into your bank.
Okay.
And you can rebuild. You can also save a blueprint of your camp and just call that blueprint up every time if you want. You can save multiple
Smart.
blueprints. So it's kind of like minor griefing, But if someone put in the effort with their team to find all of those codes and they nuke an area, honestly, I probably wouldn't even be that mad.
Yeah.
No, especially
deserve
since
it.
it sounds like the only negative is that there's enemies to kill.
Yeah, and you'll need like a hazmat suit for the radiation. So if you don't have one of those, you might need to go on a little bit of a mission. to
Build
find
that
one.
first before blowing it up.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
Cool. Well, there's definitely been a lot of news coming out about Fallout 76 beta over the past week or so since the beta started. So I got 3 stories that I found that I wanted to talk about. The first one came from Engadget. Apparently, Bethesda enlisted Ninja, Logic, the rapper, and Rick and Morty for a promo stream for Fallout 76. Do you guys think this is needed?
No.
I find it weird Rick and Morty is part of it. I can see Ninja playing it and then him with his viewership, that's just like a marketing play. Even Logic, for that matter, for how much he's into video games. It makes sense for them to do that. But I don't understand the Rick and Morty side of it. But hey,
Well, it's like,
they jump into the
it's
world in one of their
target.
things. Yeah, like I don't...
Yeah, so I'm
The target audience watches Rick
not-
and Morty.
I'm
so.
not a big fan of any of those things. Once again, Rick and Morty is I don't
Odd.
get it. I don't get it. I've tried watching it. I don't understand it. This to me, so Bethesda's done things like this before. Like they just recently teamed up with like a basketball team to give them Fallout themed jerseys, and they did a whole thing with one of the players.
Marketing?
And
Marketing
it's
being marketing?
marketing, but I don't really know who it's meant to appeal to. Obviously, there is like a part of the Venn diagram that crosses over, but to me, this is like,
Definitely does.
okay, like I'm not going to be tuning into this because I'm going to be too busy playing the beta myself.
Yeah.
And I'm just not interested in. I have nothing against Ninja as a content creator. He's not my cup of tea. I don't know who Logic is, and I don't like Rick and Morty. So
There you go.
I do feel kind of weird, though, that as big of a Bethesda fan as I am, which you guys can't see this, but I literally... It's right, like, I have
It's there.
stuff everywhere. Like, I have Fallout stuff. I almost said Fortnite. I have Fallout stuff, like, right here beside me.
It's because we were talking about Ninja.
Yeah, exactly. A little off-brand for him. But, like, I'm a huge Fallout fan, and a lot of these activations that they're doing for Fallout 76 don't appeal to me. So I'm wondering who they're trying to appeal to.
That's a good question.
I mean, they definitely marketed that marketing, and they know that if they do that, it'll help market the market. So let's do the market.
Okay. Other news stories that came out directly impact the game. One of them that I read from Forbes, hackers have already found a way to hack Fallout 76.
course.
Now, Allie, we were talking about this a little bit before. Allie, it sounds like this might be a little bit more on the lines of a clickbaity article than actual news. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I had seen that an article similar to that. The one that Leah linked to is in Forbes, but I had seen one that was similar in Kotaku. And there's an interesting thread by Seamus Blackley, who is known as like the father of Xbox. He's someone who's been in game dev and that world for a long time. I'll put the link to his thread in the show notes. A lot of this is over my head because physics in games is just never something I've been super interested in. But it does seem like people are making kind of a mountain out of a molehill. And what I think people need to understand is that a lot of time in games, we will do whatever it takes to make things work. And
The player?
No. The developers.
The dev. Okay.
And a lot of things are held together by string and duct tape than people realize.
Ha.
And it's literally... Because, I mean, isn't there an instance... Simon probably knows about this. Isn't there an instance in Dark Souls where weapon durability was tied to FPS?
I know that you had something, not for Dark Souls related, but I know that a lot of developers tie a lot of game physics to FPS. Yes, I know that happens a lot. I don't know about Dark Souls though.
Yeah, so this is not really out of the ordinary, but because it's an online experience and people's online experience will be altered by people altering their experience, it's become an article. I will give you the link, Leah, so you can put this in the show notes because,
Perfect.
I mean, it's something that's going to have to be adjusted as the game goes on. And it's going to be really obvious when people are doing this.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember
funny, go ahead.
when Fallout 4 first came. I was 3 or 4. It's either 3 or 4 when it first came out on PC. There was a 30 FPS like limitator, and if you like went into the config file and changed the limiter to like 60, it would break the game completely because it's like set to a certain FPS amount, and if you change that, then it fucks everything up. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's probably what they're referring to in that article.
Yeah, if you want a good example of people pushing the limits of a game just for the funsies, you should watch Monster Factory. It's a
Because
from
there
the
was
McElroy
even
brothers.
thinking about like bugs and people exploiting them for something. Been watching some YouTube videos about Red Dead because that's all that pops up in my YouTube feed right now. And one of them is like an exploit around saving mechanic in order to accumulate a gold bar thousands of times or hundreds of times.
Oh, yeah, that'll
So
happen all the
essentially, yeah. So essentially, it's not something that they probably could have tested right off the bat, and I'm sure they'll patch it out at some point, just like they did the in Destiny 1 with all the. Remember those raids where we just stood in front of the cave and just shot at things and got
the cave.
The
got
loot
stuff. Yeah,
cave.
the loot caves. So obviously in the beginning, like it's not like it's an intent. It's not a hack. It's just exploiting the
Unintended
limitations
use
of
of a
the game.
mechanic.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh wow, sorry, that was weird. Edit that out.
What?
The other news story that I saw, and this directly relates to people who are trying to play Fallout 76, is that the whole game file was being deleted from some people's instances. So not only the fact, like, and I'm sure it's not a small download. I don't know how big it was to start, but like
It's a full
people
game.
would download the game. Pardon?
It's the full game. It's 47
Yeah.
gigs.
Yeah, so like folks would download, play the beta, something would happen, and then all of a sudden their game was gone from their system.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
I mean, that happened, and Bethesda responded by extending the beta. Sorry, and my
Yeah.
words were hard there for a second. They extended the beta to accommodate that. Things happen. When people are idling in launchers and pressing buttons, and these are just unforeseen things. They just happen. Like, there's some things you just cannot test for. There's some things that you could test 100 ways, and then the player will find the 101 next way to do things and break it.
It's called a beta for a reason, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird.
Really is.
It's weird that it just deleted.
Yeah, that's whack. I mean, like how often, like that's a big one. And sometimes, like you said, you need all these bodies in there pushing the game to the limit as the purpose of the beta to see what could actually happen. I mean, the QA testers, they only have so many things, and maybe sometimes what's lovely in development in general is you could go and fix one thing and it totally busts something else. And you don't realize. So I'm sure that's probably what happened. But thank you to the folks at Bethesda for understanding that obviously sucks and offering more chances for those folks to play.
Yeah, no, I think, they made it right, which is the most that they could do. Is unfortunately people have to go through that download again and, use up some of their internet, whatever, for the month.
Data?
Yeah, their
Bandwidth.
data. Sorry, guys, words are suddenly very hard.
We've been at this for a little while
Jeez
now,
Louise.
so.
Yeah, we've been podcasting for a while now.
But yeah, like honestly, what I have to say to people, kind of like to round this out, I guess. If you're a fan of Fallout, but you're on the fence, and I don't like people. I don't know if you guys have picked that up while listening to
No
184
idea.
episodes of this podcast. I don't like people, but I'm still having an awesome time because I don't have to interact with people if I don't want to. But there's an entire world in the Fallout franchise for me to explore, and that makes me happy.
Nice.
So you know what? If you're on the fence, go watch some of my VODs. Go watch
I
other
will.
people's VODs.
I will.
I would say to avoid some of the louder, angrier voices in the content creation community, just go to like someone who's a little more laid back and just see for yourself.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Allie. That's been a great roundup. And I'm sure it really gives some insights because I don't think there's going to be a review period for this. I think the game will come out and everybody will be doing reviews in progress and stuff. So I think this is really the early access info that people are going to get about Fallout 76.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think that we're not going to see a review wave on launch day. We're going to see things coming out days after and stuff like that. But yeah, this is definitely, I think, the... As much as it is a beta, I think this is very much the first impression we're getting of the game. So
exactly. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this highlight from the Girls on Games podcast, you can go subscribe to our show where most podcasts can be found, or find all of our content at girlsongames.ca.